Hey guys, number 48 in the how-to videos was about sexual harassment in Japan, which led to a whole heap of comments from some chivalrous guys saying what they would do if they saw harassment in Japan. So I made a number 49 was about the legal consequences and the visa consequences of getting involved in any conflict in Japan, which has led to a whole heap of more comments about, why is it wrong? Why can't I say something? Why can't I do something? Well, first of all my videos, the how-to videos and all the other videos, are all just my opinion based on my own experiences and what I've seen and observed in Japan. Of course, anybody that comes to Japan can choose for themselves how they behave and what they do and what they don't do. And when I make these videos, I'm well aware that many people will do totally different things to what I'm talking about. No problem. I think we all get the consequences of our actions, and I choose to try and follow a different path to result in good results. And if people think that their paths will result in better results for them, then that's fine too. But a couple of points that I really want to make that apply to just about every video I've made, and that is that if we come to Japan, there is some things that are fantastic, and there is some things that are not good, and there's some things about Japan that I don't like. I've made videos about some of them, and I think for a foreigner making videos for other foreigners about Japan, particularly considering some of those people will probably come here at some stage, I think it's okay for me to point those things out and to say critical things about Japan occasionally, although you'll notice most of my videos are positive, but occasionally I'll make one about something that I feel strongly about. One of them was sexual harassment. I feel quite strongly about that. Those people that did listen to the first couple of minutes of that video would understand that I feel quite strongly about that. But we can't come to Japan and expect to change it. And we shouldn't come to Japan and expect to be critical of it. And I think if we imagine the reverse, we imagine we're in a restaurant in our country, in a McDonald's or in another restaurant in our own country, and we're eating meat, and a couple of Hindu guys come in and see that we're eating meat and say to us, "What are you doing? You know, cows are sacred. You shouldn't be eating cows. What are you doing? That's terrible. Stop eating cows." I think you can imagine the reaction that those guys would get. I know in Australia, even people that have lived in Australia for 20, 30 years, if they say anything negative about Australia, Australians will say to them, "If you don't like it, go back to where you came from." They don't say, "Geez, you're right, we really should change the way we do that." It doesn't happen like that, and I think America's the same. I see on the internet all the time, anybody that says anything critical about America gets abused for it, by some people. So I think it's all the same. If someone came to your country and said, all the women should be wearing headscarves, it's offending God that these women aren't wearing headscarves. You all should wear headscarves. You can imagine the reaction. Or if some people from another religion or another culture came to your country and said, you're not married. This girl and this guy are not married, and yet they're sitting together alone in a park talking. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's morally wrong. You can imagine the reaction. So it's the same thing. And what I should have said in the sexual harassment video, and what I should have pointed out is, for the girls here, now I don't like sexual harassment, and I don't like the way women are treated in Japan. Let me say that for about the 100th time on a video. I don't like it, and I think it should change, and I'm sure it will in maybe 100 years. It'll change slowly, but it's not up to us to change it. It's up to Japanese people to change it at their own pace, for the same reasons that I just gave the examples of people coming to our country and making us change what we do. Now, what I should have said on that sexual harassment video, what I should have pointed out is that, occasionally, I'll give you the example. I don't like talking about myself or my wife, but I will this time. For example, occasionally my wife will come home and tell me that some customer at work or somebody at work has said something to her, some sexual harassment. type comment. And she'll just say to me, oh, you know, this customer or this guy at work said this, you know, and she'll say to me, oh, he's etchy, you know, and which means like he's deviant or something. So when guys behave like that here, the girls just see them as being, because it's only a minority of the guys, right? Most of the guys here don't do it, so it's only a minority. And when the minority do it, the girls here just don't have any respect for them. They just go, oh, he's just a deviant. But it doesn't devastate them. You know, they just see it that guy's like a 14-year-old boy behaving like a fool, and they sort of go, oh, he's an idiot, and that's the end of it. It doesn't devastate them, it doesn't upset them. She'll come home and tell me those things, and it's no big deal to her. But if that happened, and then some foreign guy stepped in and said, you know, don't you talk to her like that, and made a scene about it, she'd come home and that would be a big deal. She'd come home and say, a terrible thing happened at work today. You know, what happened? Oh, you know, some customer made a sleazy comment to me, and then some foreigner made a huge scene about it. You know, she wouldn't see him as a knight in shining armour. She wouldn't see him as a hero. She'd see him as a guy that had come and made a big problem out of something that wasn't a problem. And this is an important point, is that many things in Japan that we look at that we think should change, if we look at it in through those eyes, often we're seeing it through the eyes of someone who's not Japanese. So, you know, it'd be the same as me coming to your house, you invite me to your house, you allow me to come into your house, I come into your house, take one look around your lounge room and say, why have you got the TV in that corner? It should be over in that corner. You know, what I don't know is that the sun shines through the window and shines on the TV if it's in that corner. You know, it'd be the same thing, and your feeling would be the same. If I came into your house and started criticising your food and criticising where your TV was and criticising the fact that you don't take your shoes off when you walk in the door, you know, you'd soon be thinking, this guy's my guest and he's come in behaving like this is terrible. And that's the way these guys see it. You know, I shouldn't bring up the Cove again, but it keeps popping into my mind. I made the video when the Cove movie first came out, when it was first released, before it was released in Japan, but it had been released in other countries. I saw enough of it on YouTube to know how the Japanese would react to it. And when it came out in Japan, they reacted exactly as I thought they would. It was released, it was in a few cinemas, I went and saw it. To those of you who keep telling me I should have seen it, I've seen it. And the only coverage I saw in the media was one night on TV. They did a story about how disgustingly the foreigners behaved that had come to Japan, which is exactly as I anticipated. Because through the Japanese eyes, these guys don't think like people from other countries do. They sure don't think like Australians. They sure don't think like people from most other countries, you know. And the way they saw it was just incredibly rude. That these guys had come from other countries to Japan as guests and then started criticising what was happening here. You know, it's the way they see it. You know, to come here as a guest, you know, like coming into your home and criticising your house and criticising your food and criticising your TV and criticising the way you talk to your husband or the way you talk to your wife or the way you talk to your kids, you know, it's just, first of all, it's not the way to behave as a guest. Secondly, it won't change anything. You know, it won't change anything. Some guy saying something to someone on a train and then you stand up and say, don't talk to her like that. Everyone on the train is going to look at you and go, what the hell are you doing? Go home. You know, they won't say it because Japanese people are too polite, but that's what they'll think. So, you know, reading these comments, you know, from these guys saying what they would do, and, you know, one guy was telling me that I'm not a real man because I wouldn't stand up for women and all the rest of it. I won't stand up because I know the result. It won't be the result you think it will be, you know, or these guys think it will be. It won't be that result. So again, you know, anybody that wants to come here and behave however they want, that's up to them. And I know they do because I see it, you know, not in the town I live in. I live in a town where there's no other foreigners. But when I go to the big cities, I see the behaviour and I know that will always be the case. I make these videos for people who are coming here and who want to know more about it and who want to understand the culture better before they come, and they want to try and do the right things while they're here. Just the same as if I come to your house and ask you, you know, look, is it okay to do this here? Do you usually wear shoes inside your house? Do you usually, you know, is it okay to smoke cigarettes in your house? you know, that sort of guest, and they're the people that I make these videos for. So I know that, you know, there will be some people that watch them and go, continue to make the comments that they do, saying that's ridiculous, and you know, I'm not going to do that in Japan, I'm going to do it my own way. And you know, it's sort of like going to someone's house. My neighbour in Australia was a good Catholic family, and when I had dinner there, you know, they'd always say a prayer before we ate, and it'd be the same as me walking in there and saying, I don't do that, I don't do that. So when they're sitting there having their prayer before eating, I just start eating. You know, that sort of behaviour. So I mean, if people want to come here and do that, that's up to them. But for the rest of you, you're the guys that I'm making these videos for, and I hope you're finding them useful. So that was number 50 in the how-to videos, and there's more of all sorts of videos coming soon.